with over 30 million downloads at absolute minimum, tens of millions of views on YouTube from almost every famous Minecraft YouTuber under the sun, hundreds of servers with thousands of players, and a long history filled with nostalgia, the Pixelmon mod is arguably one of Minecraft's most famous, successful, and well-known. But while the mod itself is well known, what isn't as well known is its long, shady, and interesting history. From hiding malicious code that could remotely shut down servers, forcing even Minecraft developers to speak out, being taken down from the internet entirely by one of the biggest companies in the world, to then its own developers splitting into multiple teams and stealing code from one another, making tens of thousands of dollars monthly from a server monopoly, there is so much more to the seemingly innocent Minecraft Pixelmon mod than meets the eye, so much so that the version you all know today isn't even the original. But to truly understand that, we need to go all the way back to April of 2012, 14 years ago, where Pixelmon, a mod that adds Pokemon and all the gameplay that comes with Pokemon to Minecraft, was first released. Due to the insane popularity of Pokemon as a whole, Pixelmon was actually not the first mod to do this. In fact, you can find remnants of older similar mods like this one called Pokemobs on ancient videos on YouTube dating all the way back to 2011. However, Pixelmon was the first mod to do it on a scale where all the Pokemon and all the important Pokemon mechanics were properly implemented and functional within Minecraft, whereas other prior mods only had a handful of Pokemon and limited mechanics. You see, the one thing you have to understand about Pixelmon is that it wasn't just fake versions of Pokemon in Minecraft or even off-brand versions of them. It was straight up Pokemon in Minecraft, and it was done well. For decades now, the Pokemon community has been asking for an open-world Pokemon game. That's why Palworld was so popular when it launched, despite it not even containing the original Pokemon either. And Minecraft is a surprisingly good platform for that, so Pixelmon being the first mod to properly add Pokemon to Minecraft basically made it an almost instant success. The main Pixelmon thread, where early versions were released back in 2012 on the Minecraft forums, is over 500 pages long now, with comments from the original developers even mentioning how fast the mod was growing. Soon enough, popular YouTubers from the time, including popular MMOs, Preston Plays, Lachlan, Mr. Woofles, iBallistic Squid, ASF Jerome, Bajan Canadian, Sunday, and basically every single Minecraft YouTuber who was relevant at the time was playing it or doing a series on it, leading to the mod completely blowing up in 2013, becoming the household name it is today. One additional factor which really contributed to the mod's success was the fact that it could be run on multiplayer servers very well, and even now today, over 10 years later, happens to be one of the only Minecraft modded servers which actually has an active and large public player base, something which only Pixelmon and its later counterparts Cobblemon have ever achieved. Pixelmon became a Minecraft mod so popular that it would never truly be forgotten. Well, at least that's what should have happened. In March of 2014, at the peak of Pixelmon's popularity, a post was made to the Feed the Beast subreddit, the largest and most active Minecraft modding subreddit. The post simply stated, PSA, do not use Pixelmon. It can remotely disable your server and ban players by disconnecting them on Connect. But first, have you ever played Minecraft but couldn't find that specific mod or plugin to change that one feature you really wanted? Well, good news, as this video sponsor, boot.dev, might be just what you need. Learning to code and program can be intimidating and confusing, and that's exactly what boot.dev is designed to make easy. Boot.dev allows you to learn JavaScript, Python, SQL, Go, and many other languages in a fun, gamified, understandable, and beginner-friendly way. Now, as someone with very little coding experience, surprisingly I found the Python course quite easy to work through, which I really appreciated and enjoyed. Another thing I found enjoyable about it was all the achievements and XP I got, as well as the shop and leaderboard, which made learning feel like a fun game. However, my absolute favorite feature of boot.dev is boots. You see, one thing that really worried me about learning to code was getting stuck and having to spend hours sifting through annoying forum posts for help. But fortunately, boot.dev's helpful AI boots is there to help you with any questions anytime, so you'll never get frustrated and stuck, which I found really useful and convenient. There's also the training grounds, a cool feature of the website where you can grind personalized challenges that you can even create yourself if you are looking to focus on improving a specific skill. Go to boot.dev using my link below or scan this QR code and try out the courses for free. Then use my code MrEpic to get 25% off your entire first year if you choose the annual plan. As we touched on just prior, Pixelmon's meteoric success in large was due to the many public multiplayer servers who began running it, many of which seeing hundreds if not thousands of concurrent players daily. So when an announcement like this about one of the game's biggest mods, of which had the most popular modded servers, is made, it got quite a bit of attention. But what actually happened? Well, it was found that the Pixelmon mod developers had the ability to remotely blacklist and thus shut down servers running their mod at any time. Furthermore, they also had the ability to blacklist and prevent specific players with certain usernames from joining Pixelmon servers, effectively being able to globally ban them. Overall, the Pixelmon developers had the ability to not only shut down any server running their mod whenever they wanted, but they could also completely ban specific players from ever playing the mod on servers, blacklisting them entirely. The code to do this was also supposedly disguised so that players wouldn't find out, but clearly that didn't work out, when Richard G, creator of the famous Industrial Craft 2 mod, would dive into the code and expose the mod on Twitter. The situation would garner quite a lot of attention, so much so that even Mojang support would even weigh in, mentioning they couldn't do anything about it, but also mentioning they would talk to Pixelmon's developers. Minecraft developer Grum would also make a tweet about the situation, mentioning that the situation was sad and not okay, mentioning modders should not have the ability to regulate who gets to play and who doesn't. He would further comment that he believed the Pixelmon mod development team would rectify this oversight, seeming to imply some sort of pressure from Mojang if they didn't. Another Minecraft developer, Mark, would also state that what the Pixelmon devs were doing was not cool. But what was the reason for adding a blacklist anyways? Well, the Pixelmon devs would come out in response, mentioning it was to prevent players from breaking their terms and conditions, and was simply reserved for seriously bad actors and to protect servers from serial abusers, mentioning the entire drama was overblown. And they were right to an extent, as Redditors very much had been overblowing the drama, of which nobody had even been affected by yet, going as far as to wrongly label Pixelmon a Trojan. There were good arguments from both sides, but ultimately community consensus within the modded Minecraft community on Reddit was not in support, and understandably so. No mod developer should have the ability to control who can and can't use their mod after all. About a day later, YouTube channel GameChap would upload a video covering the Pixelmon drama, to which the Pixelmon development team supposedly falsely issued a copyright takedown, getting the video removed from YouTube. This would spark even more drama when a post was made about the situation to the Minecraft subreddit, and GameChap would make a follow-up video calling them out with almost 100,000 views. According to the Reddit post, the reason the Pixelmon team tried to take the mod down was due to snippets of malicious code being shown in the video, despite that code supposedly already being publicly available on social media websites. Regardless of which party was in the legal right here, the general public who were already not happy with Pixelmon were now even more upset, many calling out the developers for their behavior, and public opinion of the mod was becoming quite negative. With all the public pressure and backlash, the Pixelmon developers would eventually cave and remove the code from the mod that allowed them to shut down servers and blacklist players soon after, and it seemed like this entire ordeal would be mostly forgotten. Forgotten, unlike our goal of hitting 1 million subscribers by the end of the year. We recently hit 900k and are on the home stretch now, so be sure to subscribe if you've been watching my videos for a while and enjoy them. No pressure, of course. The entire Malicious Code ordeal was only the beginning. 3 years later in 2017, an announcement by one of the mod's main developers was made on the official Pixelmon website, mentioning that Pixelmon would be ending its development after a request from none other than the Pokemon Company, which is owned by Nintendo, to shut down. Just like what's happened with many other Pokemon games and Nintendo-related IPs used by fans, Pixelmon received a cease and desist, forcing them to abandon the mod entirely. The community was upset understandably, many referencing how complete the Pixelmon mod was, and how it filled a gap in the Pokemon market, which for years, Nintendo had refused to fill themselves. Many were also surprised the mod had lasted this long, considering Nintendo's track record, and a petition was even made to try to save the Pixelmon mod, which got over 18,000 supporters. But ultimately, nothing would change. And thus, the original Pixelmon mod was forcibly shut down, bringing an end to its saga. Well, not entirely, as I'm sure many of you know, the Pixelmon mod still exists today now, doesn't it? But what most of you don't know is that the version that exists today is not the same as the original, and the drama behind how this version came to be is arguably even more interesting in of itself. After the original Pixelmon mod was shut down, the many servers running it who were making tens of thousands of dollars monthly didn't exactly just want to shut down either, for obvious reasons. And this is where things get a bit shady. I got in contact with longtime Pixelmon developer, now Cobblemon lead developer Hiroku, so he could tell me the full story of what happened after Pixelmon was shut down, of which isn't really public knowledge. Soon after Pixelmon shut down, 2 new projects popped up, Pixelmon Dark and Pixelmon Reborn. Both of these projects were continuations of the Pixelmon mod, run by server owners, not the original Pixelmon developers. But there was a bit of a shady catch. These server owners had supposedly gotten their hands on slightly outdated, leaked Pixelmon source code from a previous developer who allegedly may have sold it for thousands of dollars to them, although there's no way to confirm that for sure. From there, these server owners continued working on Pixelmon code that they did not technically own or obtain legally. Pretty quickly, both Pixelmon Dark and Pixelmon Reborn would combine together into Pixelmon Generations. This was once again an unofficial and stolen version of the mod, still run by server owners at the time. Now you might be thinking, why did these server owners continue it and none of the main Pixelmon developers helped out? And the main reason for that, as Hiroku told me, was because Pixelmon Generations was very much a for-profit project. Since it was operated by a bunch of server owners who monetized their servers quite aggressively, being very pay-to-win and potentially containing creator keys and gambling, much of the content of updates and the focus of Pixelmon Generations development was centered around catering to that. This has been a problem with Pixelmon for a while, and even still today. The mod as a whole, as Hiroku mentioned in an old Reddit comment, is just so extremely monetizable that it's very easy to cross the line into an unethical territory. You can see more of what I mean in this video I made here. Furthermore, Pixelmon Generations also happen to have a built-in server list, whereby all the owners of the mod would automatically feature their servers at the top, eventually turning into a similar system to modern-day server listing and voting websites, where servers could pay for slots on this server list in order to be featured higher monthly. Naturally, as is the case with modern Minecraft servers, the servers featured first and most prominently, thus the ones getting all the players, were the bigger unethically monetized ones who had far more money than smaller, more ethically monetized or non-pay-to-win ones could ever dream of having, essentially building a monopoly where no other smaller server could rise up to compete. This went on for some time until former developers of the original Pixelmon mod, excluding the original creator who received the cease and desist, decided to band together and create their own continuation of the Pixelmon mod known as Pixelmon Reforged, upset at how for-profit other unofficial continuations had become. Since this version of the mod was run by the original developers, it had the most up-to-date version of the source code. Over the years, due to the lack of quality of Pixelmon Generations and technical debt stemming from the fact that none of the original Pixelmon developers worked on Generations, Reforged eventually became the successor to Pixelmon of choice, rapidly outpacing Generations in terms of popularity and updates. That wasn't without Generations owners trying one final shady act of decompiling Pixelmon Reforged themselves and attempting to rebuild the mod on top of that, essentially stealing Reforged's code and trying to continue Generations through that. Pixelmon Generations is no longer maintained or updated today, and ironically, as Hiroku told me, in early 2023 announced that they would instead shift their focus to working on a Cobblemon add-on instead, but we'll come back to that at the end of the video. By the later 2010s, Pixelmon Reforged had essentially fully taken over the modded Minecraft Pokemon landscape. However, it wasn't all smooth sailing from here either. Hiroku would eventually leave Pixelmon Reforged after a couple years spent there, which he mentioned was simply because he had significant disagreements with certain higher-up members of the team, also mentioning that after he left, the mod saw a greater shift towards a more corporate style of management and operation. An example of this happening while he was still working on Reforged was where one big Pixelmon server was buying cosmetics to use directly from the mod's owner in a private deal, of which the owner shot down the idea to create a cosmetic shop system all servers of all sizes could access in order to monetize Pixelmon Reforged better. Reforged eventually also began listing featured servers that would automatically be added to the server list by default when you launched the mod, and unsurprisingly, server owners could once again pay for slots to be featured in higher positions. The biggest servers with the most money, such as MC Complex, which as we've covered before has a Pixelmon game mode full of pay-to-win gambling, are always at the top as they have the most money and thus most resources. Now, to the mod's credit, they also do feature other smaller Pixelmon servers on the server list too, but these are much further down and thus significantly less likely to be clicked on by players. According to Hiroku, these paid slots make the Pixelmon Reforged mod around $10,000 per month, which is part of the reason he left Reforged and went to work on Cobblemon. As he told me, the absolute supreme way to advertise a server was by paying the mod heaps of money, therefore putting an incentive on aggressive server monetization to afford the advertising. Good servers with quality but a reasonable store had zero chance of getting out there, like an even more extreme version of what happens to regular servers on regular server listing websites. And Hiroku isn't the only one who feels this way either. Another server owner I spoke to mentioned similar, where some servers like Complex were on the list multiple times, making things unfair. Something which you can still see today, by the other way, mentioning that a suggestion for a clear all or delete all button on the server list was ultimately shot down. Another Pixelmon side mod dev, as well as a server manager from the time, also once again provided similar information, mentioning that MC Complex held multiple server slots worth thousands of dollars each per month, with other server owners paying for slots with their time. A lot of these servers on the list also are faking or spoofing their play count to appear higher than it is too, which is quite deceptive. There are two sides to this coin though. Pixelmon Reforged is a large mod with many developers that need resources to survive, and these server slots are a good way to do that. And as Hiroku told me, he doesn't want his personal disagreements with these issues to instigate new drama. He'd rather beat them by building something better, instead of merely trying to hurt the mod's reputation, which at the end of the day, isn't the larger development team's doing. As to be clear, majority of the Pixelmon Reforged development team have no say, control, or even knowledge about some of these decisions, and many are passionate, well-meaning developers who simply enjoy working on the mod, which can't be blamed or held responsible for any of this. With Hiroku leaving Pixelmon, he would eventually found Cobblemon in late 2022, which is now Pixelmon Reforged's biggest and best competitor to date. Unlike Pixelmon, which added Pokemon straight into Minecraft in a visual style that does not match Minecraft at all, Cobblemon has adapted the Pokemon models into blockier shapes that actually fit Minecraft's aesthetic. Cobblemon, as generally reported by players and server owners, also runs significantly better, and while not as feature-dense as Pixelmon due to the mod not being as old, has so many add-ons that blow Pixelmon out of the water 10 times over. In general, players state Cobblemon integrates well with Minecraft and fits the game much better than Pixelmon does. There are also now many substantially sized Cobblemon servers who are even bigger than most Pixelmon ones, and in general, sentiment online seems to favor Cobblemon. Will Cobblemon do to Pixelmon Reforged as Reforged did to Generations and completely take over? Well, only time will tell, as Pixelmon Reforged remains a solid, popular mod in of itself today that is still regularly maintained and updated, and to date remains the only active continuation of the original and official Pixelmon mod, a truly historic Minecraft mod with a long and interesting history. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching.